Hello, everyone, and thanks for joining. We'll just wait a couple of minutes here for anyone else to join. Maybe just wait one more minute here. It looks like we just have a few more people joining. All right, looks like we have everybody now. Well, hello, everyone, and welcome. I'm Joseph Hammett, Head of Sales at HR Cloud. So today we're talking about something every HR leader and CEO is feeling right now, and that's employee disconnection. Not disengagement in a vague sense. I mean the practical day-to-day problem where employees feel disconnected from the company, disconnected from leadership, disconnected from wins around them, and sometimes disconnected from the reason they joined in the first place. For many companies, the employee portal has become purely administrative. People log in to download a tax form, request PTO, update a profile, or check a policy. That's useful, but it's oftentimes not enough. The bigger opportunity is this. Your company portal can become a place where culture actually happens, a place where people see company updates, recognize each other, celebrate wins, share feedback, and feel part of something bigger than just their task list. And that's what we're going to cover today. So it's going to be how to move beyond the paycheck and turn your portal into a high-performance culture hub. So here's what we're going to do today. First, we're going to look at what I call the disconnection crisis. This is the problem behind quiet quitting, low portal adoption, and employees who do good work but don't feel seen. Then we'll talk about what I'm going to call the ghost portal problem. That's when your HR system technically exists, but employees only use it when they have to. After that, we'll look at the silent high performer. These are the employees doing excellent work every week, but because they're remote, deskless, or not always visible to leadership, their work goes often unnoticed. Then we'll shift into solution. So how HR Cloud, and specifically our Workmates platform, helps companies move from administrative HR to engagement, focused, culture-based HR. I'll walk through peer-to-peer recognition, social feeds, company announcements, birthdays, anniversaries, project wins, and how the employee can create a voice in the organization. Then we'll move into a live demo and show what this actually looks like from a mobile device. And finally, we'll close with business impact, retention, communication, employee sentiment, and how HR leaders can use engagement signals before turnover becomes a bigger problem. So let's start with the real problem. So most companies already have an employee portal, oftentimes their payroll tool. The problem is that many employees don't see it as a place to connect. They see it as a place to complete a task or get some information that they need. They log in when they need a pay stub. They log in when they need a tax form. They log in when they need to request time off. Then they leave. That means the portal is working as a filing cabinet, but not as a culture hub. And that creates a real gap. Because culture does not happen inside a spreadsheet. It does not happen inside a policy PDF. It does not happen inside an email that half the company ignores. Culture happens when employees see what matters, who is contributing, and what the company is celebrating, and how their own work connects to the bigger picture and the larger organization. When employees don't see that, they don't always leave immediately. First, they go quiet. They stop participating. They stop giving feedback. They stop raising their hand. They do the job, but emotionally, they start checking out. That's the real danger. By the time someone resigns, the disconnection usually started much earlier, so we can get those early warning signals. So let's talk about what we call the ghost portal. So this is what happens when your employee portal has information but no energy. It has documents, it has links, it has HR texts, it has policies, it even has newsletters. But employees don't have a reason to visit unless they need something. That's not an adoption problem, it's a value problem. They don't see any real reason to access this ongoing. If the portal only serves HR, employees will not use it every day. If the portal only ever asks them to complete forms, acknowledge policies, or update information, they treat it like an admin work task that they need to complete. And that creates a bigger issue for HR leaders. You can send announcements, but people miss them. They never look at them. You can launch engagement programs, but the participation and engagement stays low. You can ask managers to recognize people, but recognition becomes inconsistent and often not seen. You can try to build culture, but the tools are scattered across email, Slack, Teams, other tools, spreadsheets, disconnected HR systems. So the first shift is simple. Stop thinking of the employee portal as a place employees visit when HR needs something. Start thinking of it instead as the place employees go to understand what's actually happening, who's being recognized, and how they fit in the larger schema of the organization. That's the difference between what we call a ghost portal and a true culture hub. Now let's talk about the silent high performer. Every company has them. Oftentimes, we're not even always aware of who they are. That's the employee who solves problems without making noise, the frontline worker who helps a new teammate, the remote employee who keeps a project moving, the manager who quietly prevents turnover on their team, the support employee who goes above and beyond for a customer. A lot of that work never makes it into a performance review. It never reaches senior leadership. It's never documented. It never shows up in a company meeting. And when great work goes unseen, employees start asking a very simple question. Does anyone here actually notice what I do or value my contributions? That question matters because employees do not only stay for compensation. Compensation matters, of course, but people also stay when they feel seen, trusted, connected, and valued, oftentimes, even if compensation is less. The problem is that most recognition systems are still top-down. Leadership recognizes a few people, employee of the month, those types of things. Managers remember when they can. HR runs occasionally, gift card campaigns and things like that. But that misses the daily work happening across departments, locations, and teams. That's where peer-to-peer recognition changes the games. Because the people closest to work are often the people best positioned to recognize it. So this is where Workmates and HR Cloud comes in. So Workmates helps companies move forward from administrative HR to engagement HR. Administration is important. You still need onboarding, policies, documents, compliance, time off, and employee records. But engagement HR answers a different question. How do we keep people connected after they hired? How do we make company communication easily visible and widespread? How do we help employees recognize each other and promote such activities? How do we give employee a true voice in the organization and feel heard? How do we help leaders see what's happening across teams, locations, and departments? Workmates acts as that digital glue between the employees, managers, HR, and leadership. Instead of culture living in random email threads or one-off manager messages, Workmates brings it into one central employee experience that's shared across the organization. Employees see the updates. They recognize their peers. They see when peers are recognized. They react, comment, participate actively within the organization's feeds. They celebrate birthdays, work anniversaries, wins, and company milestones. And HR can finally see engagement patterns instead of guessing. That's the true shift. You are not just giving employees another app. You're giving them, the company, one place where all these things happen and tied into all the other tools you use. So communication, recognition, and culture can all live in one place, easily accessible from our palm. Let's break this down into two core pieces, and that's going to be recognition and social feeds. First, peer-to-peer recognition. Recognition should not depend only on managers and team leaders. They're busy. Things can fall through. They miss things. And in remote or desk environments, they often don't even see the full picture. With peer-to-peer recognitions, employee can recognize each other in the moment, on the spot. Someone helped with a computer issue or a difficult customer. Someone stayed late to support a shift. Someone trained a new hire. Someone completed a project under pressure with a late deadline. Instead of that moment disappearing, it becomes visible. And when recognition is tied to company values, it becomes even stronger. You're not just saying nice job, you're reinforcing the behaviors you want more of. Second, the social feed. The feed gives employees one central place to see what's happening across the organization. These are company announcements. These are leadership updates and company changes. These are birthdays and work anniversary celebrations. They're team wins, project milestones. These recognition posts, employee stories, and spotlights. This matters because internal email is broken for many organizations. Some people don't even have an email, and oftentimes the ones that do aren't actively using it. So people miss messages. Deskless employees may not check their emails all that often. Remote employees can feel isolated and siloed. Multi-location teams don't always know what other locations are doing. So that connection is not there. And a social feed makes company culture visible in ways email usually does not. It gives employees a reason to come to the portal, not because HR forced them to, but they generally want to, because something is relevant happening that they're interested in. So now let's move into a live demo. I want to show this from the employee's point of view first, because that's what matters. If a recognition tool takes too long to access, employees won't use it. If an announcement is hard to find, employees won't read it. If their mobile experience feels like an afterthought, those frontline and deskless employees won't adopt it and they'll just ignore it. So we'll start on mobile. First, I'll show how an employee can recognize a colleague in just a couple of seconds. We'll choose the colleague, add a quick message, connect it to a company value, and post it. That recognition now becomes visible to the right audience. The employees get recognized. Peers can react, and leadership can see positive work happening across the company. Next, we'll look at the company feed. This is where employees can see updates, announcements, birthdays, anniversaries, project wins, and recognition posts in one place. This replaces the problem of important updates getting buried in that email. Then I'll show how HR and leadership can use this from the admin side. You can target content by department, location, roles, or groups. That means the right employees see the right message. You do not have to blast every update to everybody. And finally, we'll look at engagement visibility. Who's active? Which teams are engaging? Where is recognition happening? Where is it not happening? These are signals HR leaders can use before disengagement turns into regrettable turnover. So let's jump in to Workmates and see how this all works. All right, so as you can see, you can access this both from a desktop as well as mobile. So we'll go into that mobile experience that we mentioned. So I am on my phone, and I can come right into the tool, one click, maybe I got a text message, and I'll see all the most important information. I'll see information, company announcements. I have easy access to the different links. I can even see who's been recently recognized within my organization. And all of this is happening within the feed. So we have company feeds, we have department feeds, we have entire organization team feeds, And this is where you can see anniversaries, work is happening. I can comment, I can like, I can react to this with just a couple of clicks. I can see what's going on within my organization. I can celebrate wins from my colleagues. And then, as we mentioned, I can celebrate and recognize my coworkers right on the spot. So let's say Bonnie helped me out earlier this morning, and I'd like to recognize her for that. So we'll go ahead and give a recognition post. Sorry, my computer's acting up here. So we'll go ahead and give it a kudos. So what we'll do is we'll first say, all right, I want to recognize Bonnie, for example. We pull her up. Now, what do I want to recognize her for? The way our customers do this is they use what we call badges. So badges are like specific awards or your company values. So maybe she gave me help, and when somebody gives them help, we call it an extra mile. So we'll go in here. Maybe you have a pre-banded message that shows up here. Maybe you don't, and you allow your employees to simply write in what they did. So thanks for the help. We'll make it really easy. And now we can go ahead and we'll post that right in real time. So now it's just going to show up right there on the feed, right at the top. My coworkers will be notified that she's been recognized. So they can go and say, way to go, for example. We have this entire social media connection happening across geographical regions, across the world, across teams, very quickly and easily. You could even tie this to tangible rewards like gift card points and actual other rewards that you set up through your stores, if you'd like. Now, this feed isn't just a place for recognition. It's also a place that I can post updates. So let's say I'm a manager and I want the organization to know about an event that we did today. So I can go in here, I can snap a photo, I can upload documents, I can even use AI to help me create posts. I can do things like company announcements, I can create events, I can, go live. Maybe we're, doing a client interview at the time and I want my coworkers to see it, announce new hires, promotions, all those things in one central place. So this isn't just a place for people to, get basic information, but they're active participants within the organization's company feed. And then I can send this information to specific people. So maybe it's not something for the entire organization. Maybe it only should be sent to a certain location, department, division. And then similar to like what we have with Facebook, I often use that with like Facebook groups, we can have our own sub channels. So here, the hospitality department, the research and development department, they have their own feeds where information can be shared as well. So this is everything from the employee standpoint. And oftentimes our administrators and our team managers are going to be using this tool maybe on their computer. They're maybe not the deskless employees. And this is where they can go in, they can access those different feeds and channels. So as I mentioned, we have these different channels for different purposes. They can access resources, and then they can also do things like send company announcements. So as we talked about, email is usually the place people send important information out to the organization. But from our Culture Hub, you have specifically announcements. You can create a newsletter here, make it very engaging. And there's two things you can do that an email can't. You can send it as a text message. So if it's really urgent, you can get a text message right out to them, and they'll be texted that information. You can also make sure they're signing off on it. So you're no longer having things unread and unseen. You actually have tangible evidence that employees received this important update, signed off on it, even with an e-signature if it was like a policy or something like that. And they're all stored here. So I'm not trying to find, from the employee standpoint, this information across, emails and Teams and Slack and all these other tools that might be being used. And then lastly, as an administrator or department head, lead team member, I can easily see what's going on in my organization. So I can see, for example, what type of engagements are happening, what type of posts are being shared, what's going on. I can drill down by different team members. So I can flag who's active contributors, who's just dormant members, who are viewers. I can also track changes over time. So maybe Bonnie was a high engagement person 3 months ago, so I can go back and look at a certain time, and now she isn't. So that might be a flag that she is maybe disengaging, maybe something's going on, and maybe me as her manager should reach out to connect with her. I can see what type of posts, kudos are being given, who's giving them, who's receiving them, what are people being recognized for? I can drill down by different teams, departments, locations, etc. I can track specific posts that are popular, getting likes, comments, reactions, views, all these things very easily. And this is all going to allow me to stay informed about what's really going on within my organization. And with that, let's bring this back to the actual business impact. So because recognition and communication are not just nice to have HR activities, they really directly affect retention, manager effectiveness, employee experience, and the strengths of your culture. So they're replacing employees is expensive, and you lose productivity. You spend time recruiting. Sorry, I had something in my throat. Managers get pulled away from their work. Teams absorb the disruption. So yes, retaining strong employees is far more cost effective than constantly replacing them. But retention does not improve just because you say employees are valued. It improves when employees actually feel valued consistently. And the Workmates helps you with that in a few practical ways. First, it makes recognition visible. Employees see the good work matters. Second, it improves communication. Employee knows what's happening across the company without chasing emails or waiting for manager updates. Third, it strengthens employees' voice. When employees can participate, respond, react, share feedback, they feel less disconnected from leadership. And fourth, it gives HR better signals. As you saw, we can see which groups are active, which teams are quiet, which locations are participating, and where leaders may need to step in. This is where employee net promoter scores, or E-NPS, becomes even more meaningful, and you can even run those directly through the Workmates platform. You're not just asking employees once or twice a year how they feel, you're getting at in real time. You're building a system where engagement, recognition, communication happen every week, every day, every minute. That gives HR a better chance to act early, and acting early is the whole point. You do not want to find out someone felt invisible during the exit interview. You want to see the warning signs before they leave. So that brings us to the Q&A. So please drop your questions in the chat. You can ask about employee recognition, social feeds, mobile adoption, deskless worker engagement, remote teams, announcements, NPS, and how Workmates can fit into your current system. Great, got my first question here. So for remote, deskless, or frontline workers, great work often happens where leadership cannot see it. How does peer-to-peer recognition help solve that visibility gap? So oftentimes people don't even know that they should be recognizing their coworkers, because maybe you have a form or something that somebody fills out. People don't feel like filling out a form. It takes too long. Or recognition only happens once a month in the newsletter where a certain employee is recognized as Employee of the Month. When you have a tool at your a tool in your hand, recognition happens very easily and organically and quickly and effectively. And that's where a tool like Workmates really helps. So it's not an HR tool anymore, it's actually a social tool. And our brains have become hardwired to really like social engagement tools. Next question. A lot of HR teams struggle with low adoption. What makes employees come back to a culture hub regularly instead of treating it like another HR tool? A couple of things. So maybe they're being rewarded and getting points. That's a big incentive to come into the tool, because these points actually allow them to get physical things. So there's a reward benefit within the tool. Another thing that our customers often are doing is creating up, we call them water cooler channels, or just general interest channels within the Workmates platform, things that are being general interest things. Maybe they're talking about setting up hikes for the weekend, or events that they want to set up, or even some customers to an extreme have like sport leagues and things that are going on in there, like fantasy football even. And this really used effectively to entice the employees, even like tech adverse employees, to use the tool. They want to be in there socializing with their coworkers, but it just so happens this is the same tool that their company updates are being sent to. So those are no longer falling on deaf ears. And another question here, how should leaders measure whether recognition of social feeds are actually improving engagement and not just creating more activity? So there's a few ways you can do this. The best way is if you're using surveys within our system. So a lot of our customers run a survey to kind of check where people are at. get a pulse of the organization, and maybe they do 30, 60, 90 check-in surveys or quarterly surveys, and they always see an increase in these engagement scores. Also, specifically, you can run those NPS scores in our surveys within our system. So you're getting real up-to-date feedback of what's going on, and you can quickly change it. So some customers might launch the tool in a way that they find isn't as effective as they could be. And this instant feedback allows them to quickly pivot and make those changes before they simply say, oh, this tool is not working. Now, this is a highly customizable and configurable tool that allows you to do what you need to do. You just need to define what that is. Awesome. Any other questions? Didn't see any other come in. So before we close, I'll leave you with this. If employee portal is only used for forms, policies, and PTO requests, you're leaving a huge opportunity on the table. Your portal can do more. It can help employees feel connected. It can make employee recognition part of daily work. It can give leadership visibility into culture. It can help HR communicate with the right people at the right time. And it can give employees a reason to engage with the company beyond just simple administrative tasks or end-of-the-year forms that they want to download for taxes. And that's what Workmates is built for. If you want to see how this works for your organization, we'd be happy to walk you through a personalized demo or have a quick conversation. You can reach me directly, or you can go to our website, hrcloud.com, to learn more about Workmates. And thanks for joining today. I appreciate your time and look forward to connecting with you soon. Thanks a lot. Have a nice day. Bye-bye.